Hello and welcome back. This is episode number 47 of Life.ev, a podcast that dives deep into exploring values. I'm your host, Ajit Panicker. I lead an air conditioning company, Nova, and Pure Blue, a tech startup in the air conditioning domain. Every Saturday at 11 a.m., join us for conversations that go beyond business growth, focusing on the values that fuel it. So let's embark on a journey to uncover our true purpose and how we can grow by enriching our lives. Welcome to Life.ev, where we explore values in life and business. And every Saturday, we've got Vivek with me. Hello, Vivek. Welcome back.
Hey Ajit, hi. Always good to be back on your show.
Thanks, Vivek. Vivek Asrani is the driving force behind Camo Fastener Company, a trailblazing company in the industrial fastener sector. What sets Vivek apart is his deep engagement with exploration of values. It's been for 4 years he has dedicatedly penned his reflections on this topic every week. These insightful thoughts are accessible on his website, vivekasrani.com. Vivek has authored the book One Day at a Time Reflections from Times of Silence, which further delves into his journey and insights. This thought provoking read is available on his website and also on Amazon, offering readers a chance to engage with his profound understanding and values and their role in both personal and professional life. In today's episode of Life.ev, we are delving into ideal and ideals. Vivek, let's hear your reflection on this one.
So Ajit, this reflection got triggered during the Ganesh festival. We received a lot of messages for Ganpati. And I remember I'd once heard something really beautiful about Ganesh ji, that he has a large forehead. So like him, one should be broad-minded and have a large vision. He has 2 ears, two big ears. So lots of people in life will say things. We have to learn to listen to it and allow it to pass through. We can't let it bother us. He has a big stomach. Lots of things will happen in life. So, like him, we need to have the resilience and the ability to endure and to digest all that life is throwing at us without getting shaken. He has small feet. He moves slowly. So we also must learn not to work in haste, tread carefully, sensibly, and finally he has a long trunk. And you know, it's symbolic that we must maintain our dignity and honor at all points of time. So I just thought that was a beautiful interpretation of Ganesh, and that there might be several more. And this triggered off this thought that and especially in a country where there are so many idols, we sometimes miss the ideal behind the ideal. So when I am praying to Ganpati, there is a reverence for the higher, but it's also important for me to remind myself to be broad minded, to digest what comes in life, not to be in a haste. People will say things, not to take it to heart. Okay, maintain my honor and dignity at all points of time, for example. So therein lies, our understanding. Now, if we get attached and fixed only to the idol, then we lose what it stands for. I'll give you three simple examples: a piece of cloth, or some music, or a piece of metal. In themselves, you'll say, I mean, yeah, they really don't mean much. But a piece of cloth with a particular design on it invokes patriotism, the national flag. A piece of music makes me stand up with reverence, the national anthem. A piece of metal is something I kept from my school days because it reflected a victory for me in a particular competition. So each of the three, the national flag, the national anthem, or a medal that I may have won is not just cloth, music, and metal. It's not just the idols. The ideal behind it is what evokes the higher in me and the best in me. And in this reflection, Ajit, I have spoken about moving beyond just what we see. And I'm not getting into the religious discussion over here about idols and ideals, but about everything else in life. That, yes, there are lots of things that are symbolic, and there are lots of things that we look up to and are part of our life. But I think what's equally important, if not more important, is what does it stand for? Because that's where the real change and the real learning will come. So it's really understanding the idols, but also at the same time the ideals behind that.
Awesome. I like this whole play between idol and ideals, because when you talk only about an idol, it is again like a debate. Okay, I have a point of view, you have a different point, the religious angle gets into it. But when you actually focus on the ideals, it completely changes, it's a paradigm shift. But that also leads to a question: why do you need to have an idol for an ideal? I mean, can I just say, talk about these ideals? Why not just, why have an idol for an ideal?
Great question. I think, and I'll give you my experience and understanding. Let me try and answer that question, Ajit, with a analogy. If I have to scale a wall, I need a ladder. But when I reach the top of the wall, I have to learn to kick the ladder. Otherwise, I'll never scale the wall. If I hold on to the ladder, no matter how high I climb, I'll never scale the wall. I'll always be just best at holding on to the ladder. So, in a similar way, idols help us focus our mind to what is that which we are trying to achieve, right? If we hold on to the idol, which is the ladder, we will never be able to scale the wall. Just because I may be able to recite a certain spiritual or a religious text by heart, that in itself is not going to make me a better person. But if I reflect on what is written there, what does it mean for me? What is the meaning of life? And what are the changes I need to bring about? And if I've truly understood that, then to answer your question at the highest level, I don't need to sit and read that text every day. I just need to then practice it. The mind, also, Ajit, cannot work in a vacuum. It needs to focus, and it needs very often, and we're all on a journey, right? So we need to anchor it to something, which is why when we have something that is symbolic, it is to help bring the mind to a particular point so that we can, whatever that it be, whether it be for the nation, whether it be for our own individual growth, whether it be for our spiritual growth. So when an athlete is winning a gold medal for the country, the end of the day, the athlete is getting a piece of metal, right, with 5 rings on it, the Olympic gold. It's not that piece of metal. It's the fact that I won this, yes, personally for myself because I scaled that and I achieved something great. But the thrill that we did it for our country. You remember, Ajit? I mean, you and I both live in Bombay. When India won the World Cup, Marine Drive was packed from all the way from Wankhede till Chopati. It was a sea of people. Now, what happened? 11 human beings won a game, right? Now, there are 11 human beings playing that game every day and winning and losing every day. Why did hundreds of thousands of people come onto the street? Because they won it for the country. It wasn't just that one cup that they won the cup for India. So for us, that was the ideal behind that idol of a cup, you know. So I think when we look beyond the idol to the ideals, we start shaping our own ideals in life. And then I think life changes, and then we use these as partly focus points, partly as stepping stones, partly as guides, partly as motivators. And of course, at the highest level, you don't really need any of this. So when you ask the same question from here, the answer is different when you ask it from there. Answer is, you know, it's like a student in the second standard who's taught their math table. And I remember we had to rattle the tables from 1 to 16, 2 to 16, in the second standard or the third standard. It's like, we need to know it. Uh, a professor or a scientist says this is now you don't need it. Because it's for me it's too elementary. I don't need to rattle it every day. You know.
Yeah. So this, I just want to actually take this idol and ideals to an entrepreneurial question. As entrepreneurs, we all have mentors, and I know most successful entrepreneurs like to have mentors, or in a sense, in this conversation, like an idol. Now, here's a big question: you have you have embraced mentorship, or you have idolized, and then you have benefited from those ideals that you believe in. How do you reconcile when sometimes your mentors don't act as per your ideals? And this is a big question that I always have a discussion with the others. That okay, you were following and you were believing, but now look, those values don't align with yours as you are evolving. How do you reconcile with that? What are your thoughts on this?
So Ajit, um, it's very dangerous to idolize somebody, and I'll tell you why. Because we're all human, we're not perfect, and when you idolize somebody, you are bound to get hurt because that person is also changing and evolving, uh, or moving in a direction which may not align with your value system, right? We need to appreciate and be inspired by qualities in people. So when I say I look up to a person, I'm looking up to those certain qualities in that person. But I'm also at the same time leaving space for the fact that that person may not be a perfect person, and if that person makes a mistake, that's fine. Because all of us are a bundle of you know things that we're really good at, and mistakes that we make in life. So if I idolize the person, then when the person falls, I will get shattered. So that's the first risk. You know, let me share with you what I said to both my sons when they came back, and when they're now 23 and 25. But I think I said this to them a few years ago, if I remember right. Because, the relationship between father son is a very interesting one. And I told them this. I said, as young kids, for you, father is Superman. Then as you grow older, you realize that he's not Superman, he's man. And then as you grow even older and then you start understanding and start interacting and leveling with him, you will say that he's not man, he's not a perfect man. So from Superman, he's gone to that he's not a perfect man. Right? Now, if they hold on to the idolizing that Superman they always had in their mind, then the moment they realize that father is not a Superman, he's actually an imperfect man, they'll be shattered. But if they grow up recognizing that, okay, what are the good things about this person that I am inspired by or I would like to imbibe? And yes, he's got his faults and mistakes, which we're all human. So they don't idolize the father, they idolize the qualities, some of the qualities that they might have. And I very early on in their life, I differentiated this. It's the same for us in society, Ajit.
Amazing, absolutely. That was so very well said. Yeah. But from a business perspective, what role do these ideals play in shaping the vision of your business? Because at one point, we're all building an organization. It goes beyond, it's all ideal, it is all towards a purpose. So, what role do these ideals play? play in shaping the vision of our business?
So, both have a role to play. So, first, let's talk about the ideals. We all talk about the value systems, the principles, and I think it's very important to not only know it, but to articulate it, to communicate it, and to constantly communicate so that it becomes a value system and a way of being and a culture in the organization. Very often the MSMEs struggle with, say, how do we institutionalize culture? Okay, it's one thing to be the Tatas and the Infosys, they're the big guys, but we're small family-run companies, and I disagree with that. I like, look, they are forests, we are a blade of grass, but we can be as green as they are. So first, be clear what you'd like your ideals to be. Second is, to the extent you can, walk those ideals. So if you've said that you will not corrupt, then do not bribe a purchase officer for business. And if it means that you have to wait it out a little longer to get the business, then go through that. But then innovate and be creative to develop a product offering which they can't say no to, or then go find the next 99 honest customers on the back of every one corrupt purchase officer you may come across. And I've already shared this story of our company, in the earlier podcast. So that's one part. Second is, the symbolism in an organization is very important, because end of the day, as the organization grows, you're further and further away from the newer people who are joining. And yet they need to be as committed, inspired, and part of the same culture and drive as your first 10, 12 people who've worked with you, right? Now, when you are 100,000, 10,000 people, how do you reach that 10,000th person? So there have to be certain things. So the brand in itself, of course, part of it is for the customer in terms of recall and buying our product. But part of it is also for the inner customer, which is our team. That when you see this brand, this is what it stands for. You know, that's one. Second is, there are certain things which you do in the organization which communicate something which our team came up with. Every morning they start with a prayer. Okay, it's not the religious thing. It's just that every morning we'll invoke the higher in us so that we can give the best to the customer. Now it is an idol. Okay, even a prayer in a way is idle. But the ideal behind it is invoking the higher in us so that we can give the higher from us. Okay. When we have these posters or some of the taglines that we have in the organization, eventually, or when we say customer care all the time, what we are saying is that, look, bring out, and I say this to our team, okay, I said, just the way you take care of your children, bring out the mother in you when you are taking care of your customers. Now, the mother is the idol, but the ideal behind that is the love, care, attention, and going out of their way to do whatever it takes to take care of the child in one case and to take care of the customer in another. So we use these kind of examples and symbols or symbolic examples to instill a culture and manage larger teams who will be further away from us as we grow.
Amazing. Absolutely fantastic. I love this whole differentiation of ideal and ideals and how do you stay focused on ideals. And from a business perspective, as you rightly said, if it is sometimes you got to make ideals. I mean, when you have clear ideals as an entrepreneur, there's enough sacrifices to be made when it comes to profitability too. And the ideals anyway score to build that business. What do you say? I mean, that's what you've been always saying in the earlier episodes. Also, we kind of discussed this.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
well, well, awesome. That's what we have time for today. That was a thought-provoking discussion and some deep insight. But we'd like to hear from you too. We are on the last leg of the season and we have a few more episodes to go, but we'd love to hear from you. I mean, most of you tend to send us messages on WhatsApp, but don't hesitate to put a few thoughts of yours on our social media platforms. Share this episode with your friends, your family, and start a conversation because everyone's voice matters in shaping a more ethically driven business world. That's it for today. Join us next week, next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another enriching episode of Life.ev, where we continue our exploration into the fascinating world of exploring values in our life. Vivek, thank you very much. every week for these valuable contributions. And we look forward to seeing you next week again to get on a conversation on life.ev. Thank you very much, Vivek. See you around. See you, everybody.
Ajit, bye. Take care.